Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, Functional Medicine Centers, and I'm actually at our F8 Well Centers clinic in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm coming live today. We're having an open house down here, and we've been open for a couple months. Love meeting all the new patients. We'll be actually doing our live radio show today as well on 560 AM out of Denver. So thanks for jumping on. Love having you guys here. So as you can see, normally I have my mountains behind me. I have the Nashville skyline behind me. So welcome. If you are jumping on, and pop down below where you're watching from. Also, let me know where you guys are jumping in from, as well as if you haven't already, like or follow the page. So today I'm going to be talking about blood sugar, and what we say all the time is that blood sugar doesn't lie. And this is actually the name of my book, and the reason I named it that was because it is what it is. People all the time are saying, well, I think I eat well. My blood sugar is good. I don't eat a lot of sugar. Hey, Samantha, they're in Tennessee. Yeah, it's actually a beautiful day. It's like 85 down here. It's going to be really nice. So a lot of people are like, I don't eat much sugar. I've gone keto, paleo, all these different things. But guess what? That's not the whole story. And everybody is unique with their blood sugar. In my book, Blood Sugar Doesn't Lie, I've got a copy here. You can see that it's not a huge book. It's not super thick. I could have made it 2-3 times as big if I would have said, oh my gosh, I need a menu, a meal plan, a diet, all these different things in there. But I couldn't say that because everybody is unique. And you know this. You know your body's different than your spouse's, different than your kids, any of these different things. And yet, so many people just put out material and they say, here's your book, go read this and eat this keto, paleo, all these different things. And yet, that's not the whole story. I haven't given out a diet in years. None of our doctors give out diets in our clinics because we know that everybody is unique. Some people, a banana is gonna spike up. Hey Toby, good to see you. A banana is gonna spike them up. Other people, they're gonna be fine with banana. Some people, blueberries. Any fruit is gonna make them go up. So it's way more individualized than we've ever known. And so that's the great part about doing this model of care, is that we just get to put our hands up and go, I don't know, but let's figure it out. And that's what we're gonna do. So any of you that out there that are patients, you know what I'm talking about because you've been tracking your glucose on a regular basis and you've seen, oh wow, when I do this, I didn't think it would cause that, or this is what it feels like when I'm actually crashing or when I'm going up, and I thought it was the other way around. So that's the fun part about doing this process. The fun part about learning, especially with the glucose monitoring, is that you get to know exactly what's out of balance and what you need to be doing different. I always say, if we could change everybody's blood sugar out there, get it into that good, healthy range, 90% of the population would reverse or repair any of their chronic conditions. So Alzheimer's, diabetes, inflammation, autoimmune conditions, all of these different things, if that's the one thing we could do is stabilize that blood sugar, we would change people's lives on a dramatic level. So it's a huge part of the process, blood sugar stabilization. But again, blood sugar doesn't lie. And here's what you've got to look at, because we look at blood sugar from a lot of different perspectives, and a lot of times a nurse or somebody in the medical field comes in and they go, oh my gosh, why are you doing blood work non-fasting? You're supposed to do it fasting. Give me a thumbs up. Anybody out there ever had their blood work done fasting? You know, and that's a lot. Hey, Doc from Lake Country, Minnesota. Hey, Heidi, you guys having fun up there? Awesome. Except for the leg issue. You know, here's what happens is that, you guys have seen that, but when you're fasting 10, 12 hours, the body can hide things. It can kind of self-regulate a little bit. The insulin can come into balance, the glucose can come into balance, and then all of a sudden we're looking at it and go, hey, you're actually fine. But get this, we were just looking at blood work with Dr. Steiner down here in Nashville before I jumped on the live video, and there was an insulin of 131. This was non-fasting. And give me a thumbs up if anyone's had non-fasting blood work purposely to be able to do these things that we're looking at. Never had my blood sugar tested. Angelina, you absolutely have to get your blood sugar tested, and not just glucose, and this is what we're going to be talking about. So you've got to run your glucose, obviously, but you've got to run your insulin. There's some thumbs up. Good job, guys, getting some of that done. You've got to run the Hey there, Kingsport, Tennessee. How far, Pam, how far is that from Nashville? You've got to run your glucose, you've got to run your insulin, you've got to run your hemoglobin A1C, you've got to run your GGT, which is a fatty liver marker, your triglycerides. A bunch of these different markers are going to show us exactly where those imbalances are in the bloodstream. But even then, it's not exact. Because here's what happens. Glucose, think about glucose. If I just check my blood right now, that's going to be a pinpoint spot in time. That's going to be right now. Hey, Dixie Bell down in Lebanon, Tennessee. That's going to be this very, very specific time in space where we have this glucose is like, you know, if you are sitting with the police officer and he's scanning people with his laser to see how fast they're going, that's a one-time spot in there. So what we have is this one-time spot. You're getting off the off-ramp going 35 miles an hour and like, oh man, I got 2 hours to go. Somebody would say, you're going really, really slow. It's going to take you forever. Or if you're passing that semi-truck, it's going to you're going 95 trying to get around and people go, oh my gosh, you're crazy. Why are you going 95 miles an hour? Well, those are all just pinpoint spots in time. That's what glucose is. So then we look at hemoglobin A1C. A1C is the average of the last 3 months of somebody's blood sugar. So what is that? Well, most people, if you have diabetes, they've heard of A1C before, and that's going to be a big part of the issue is that their A1C is too high, they've got diabetes, and it's just averaging too high. But it's not just highs, it's also lows. We'll see people that average low, and we'll see people that have a good average, but they're swinging up and down, up and down, up and down. All right, and Tam from Anaheim, good to see you. So we've got these swinging up and down, but their average is actually perfect. So if you did a fasting glucose, I never fast even though I think I'm supposed to, laugh loud, blood glucose was 154 on last blood test. So Pam, that is pretty much a diabetic level. Almost guarantee you're going into the diabetes range. You have to have your A1C tested, test your insulin non-fasting and see what it is. But this is a bad road that you're going down. Okay, so you've got to know your glucose, but you've also got to know your average, which is your A1C, but then you also have to look at triglycerides and insulin and some of these other markers that are going to tell us if you are insulin resistant. And insulin resistance is something that we see all the time with patients. It can be a pre-diabetes, a pre-diabetes, even diabetics can be insulin resistant, but you've got to know what these markers are, and then you've got to fix it, and you've got to retest. And that's such a huge part of this process is that you've got to be able to know, you've got to be able to document, do follow-ups, and just keep working through the process over and over and over, and eventually you'll learn what you need to do, don't do, and you'll go through there. So again, glucose is an important marker, A1C is an important marker, insulin is an important marker, triglycerides are an important marker, but in and of themselves doesn't really tell us a whole lot. I always say I could look at entire blood works, but if I could only do one marker, it would be ferritin. Ferritin would be the only marker. I wouldn't look at A1C, I wouldn't look at glucose, I wouldn't look at insulin because they're gonna vary all over the place, but ferritin I would, because ferritin, if it's high, it's gonna tell me this inflammatory cascade's going on. If it's low, it's gonna tell me if somebody's got low iron, probably leaky gut, some other issues through there. So of all markers, if I could only do one, it would be ferritin. So you've got to take a step back, figure out where these imbalances are coming from, look at them as a whole and not just narrow into individual markers. But yes, your blood sugar doesn't lie. If you're insulin resistant, if your A1C is high or low or whatever it is, that's where you are, that's where we're starting from, and we've got to get you narrowed down and get you healthy. So if you've got any questions at all on your blood sugar, pick my book up. You can grab that on Amazon, and we'll go from there. All right, Samantha, I'll be buying that book. Next week, as well as my CGM, I had blood work that all came back normal, but still struggling with your issues. And we see this all the time. People come back in and they go, my blood work was fine. The doctor said it was all in my head. Anybody ever heard that one out there? Oh, you need to be on an antidepressant. We hear that from patients all the time. They're feeling so bad and they've got so many systems out of balance, but the doctors can't find it. And so they want to put them on an antidepressant as opposed to fixing the problems. So unfortunately, some thumbs just came up, and so some of you may have heard that as well. So you've got to start with the basics. You've got to start tracking and figuring out where those were. If every single person could monitor their blood sugar, it'd be huge. We've talked a bunch about it those last couple of weeks. Is they're going to spend $56,000 a year on somebody for one Alzheimer's drug. $56,000 a year. 500,000 to 1 million people they're thinking about putting on there. $56 billion. With that $56,000, you can do a glucose monitor for the entire year and have a huge, huge change. No pills, just plants. Yeah, that's right, Dixie Bill. So, all right, guys, love having you on. If you've got any questions at all, pop those down below. But blood sugar, you've got to get started. You've got to get it stabilized. It is the most crucial thing in taking charge of your health. So, thanks for being on, and have a great day.